Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm having a quarter year crisis in my quarter life crisis year. That was super confusing. Basically what's happening is I got tagged in this video where we are going to be talking about our quarter yearly updates. But also recently I have been freaking out about the fact that this is my 25th year. I turned 26 at the very end of this year, so this is like my 25th year, and I've definitely been going through a quarter life crisis, and it's not fun. It's fine. But I'm going to be talking to you all about my quarter reading update for the year 2022. I was actually already planning on doing something really similar to this before I got tagged in the video, and then as soon as I saw this tag, I was like, this is perfect. It's going to cover almost everything that I wanted to talk about. We're going to be doing this tag, and then at the very end I will be mentioning, possibly I'll try to fit it into one of the questions, a little bit more about my 22 books that I want to read in 2022 goal. Let's get started with some of these questions. First off, I got tagged by Pages with Paige, which I have just recently been introduced to her channel and I really enjoy it, so if you are not following her, definitely go check her out. But this tag was originally made by Rosalind's Reading. Also go check them out. The first question is, how many books have you read this year? My number is 35. It's actually a little bit more than I was like wanting to have already read, but it's less than I've had at this point in the past 2 years. So I am very satisfied with this number, and I am not upset about that. I had planned to read 30 books by the end of March, so 35 is not that big of a deal. Question number 2 is, have I already found a book this year that I think will make it onto my favorites of the year list? I have been struggling a lot this year with enjoying books or like even finding favorites. I actually have one book so far that I've read this year that I think will make it onto the favorites at the end of the year. I will pull it up for you, but this is a super rare thing for me. Normally I have a couple of 5-star books every single month, and when I looked back on the past 3 months, I think I had 2 or 3 5-star books, and when I looked at those 5 stars, only one of them was like favorites level material. That book just so happened to be Iron Widow, which if you have not read yet, I highly recommend. I definitely think this book is going to make it on a lot of people's favorites of the year. I did have this book so kindly gifted to me by my friend Jo. I read my library's copy, and when she saw my video and saw how much I liked it, she bought me a copy, and I am so grateful, because let me tell you guys, like, this is the only book I read this year that made me feel such a way. I've read other good books this year, but like, this one made me feel, and it felt good. Up next is, do I have any 1-star books, or do I have a least favorite book? I have read 3 1-star books this year. I will talk about the one that is, according to my compile chart, the least, but I have had plenty of books that I have hated this year, and in fact, when I look back on my ratings, it's mostly what I've been reading. So my least favorite book I read this year was Empires and Echoes, which really sucks because it was on my most anticipated list of the year. It was in my 22 books to read in 2022. It was the first book I read this year, and it was the suckiest book I've read this year. It really did not do it for me, and I was so disappointed in this one. What is my most read genre? So I wasn't actually sure about this one. I went and looked at my statistics because normally I'm very quick to be like, it's fantasy. But I feel like this year I have been diversifying my reading a little bit more, which was one of my goals this year, and I have been succeeding at that goal. So I wasn't positive, but it is still fantasy. I have read 13 fantasy books this year, and that is not including fantasy romance. That is the only like subgenre that I track separate from its main genre. So if you include fantasy romance, it's a little bit higher, and that's right around the halfway mark. So about half of what I've been reading has been fantasy of some kind. Underneath that was science fiction and horror. I don't remember what those numbers were at, but they are both between 8 and 10 books that I had read this year in those genres. What is a book that surprised you? Now, I looked at all these questions before I did this video, but I didn't pick a book for this because I wanted to experience the surprise with you all right now. So I'm gonna turn around and look at some books and figure out what book surprised me. If we're talking about it surprised me about how bad it was, Okay, I'm gonna have to talk about one of the arcs that I read, and it is still not out yet. I believe it's out either in June or July. Oh my god, I have such a hard time distinguishing between those 2 months, and I'm not totally sure why. The book is Wake the Bones. I loved this book. I actually have a dedicated review for this book, and if you're a fan of like weird, like think about the Raven Boys, but put it into a little bit less of a magical setting and a little bit darker of a setting, and you've got Wake the Bones. It was a beautiful Southern Gothic horror, magical realism, romance, contemporary, genre-bending story that I absolutely loved. The author is so sweet, and she is a debut author, so give her as much love as you can, and I highly recommend pre-ordering this book. I will be pre-ordering myself a physical copy because I loved it so freaking much. The next question is, what is a 2022 release that I am excited for but have not read yet? And that is going to be League of Liars. I meant to go to the bookstore and buy it the day it came out. My Barnes & Noble is really bad though about saying things are in stock, and then when you get to the store they're in the back room and they're just short-staffed. And the day this book was published, it was February 22nd. I actually took the day off to celebrate 2/2/2/2/2/2, and so I was over at my Barnes & Noble, but I could only be there for a very limited amount of time, so I didn't have enough time to like try and find an employee and ask them if they could check the back, because the online said it was in stock, but I could not find the book anywhere. So I didn't end up getting to purchase it, and since then I have just not gone and bought it, but I definitely think it's on my list of books to check out really soon. I am so excited about this one. It's multiple POV YA fantasy about a heist, which ever since Six of Crows I have been ruined for, and every single time I am chasing the high, hoping that I will get that back in my life, and it's never been a success. And honestly, I'm at the point where this year has been so sucky with reading that I don't even want to buy any more anticipated reads until next year, because they're automatically just going to be bad, it seems. My next question is, what is one goal that you are succeeding at? How many books I wanted to read this year? I wanted to read 120. Since I have read 35, it does mean that I am on track to read a little bit more than 120, which is super fine. My goal is kind of like 120 to 150. My other goal for this year was I wanted to read 24,000 physical pages. I am on track for that as well. I don't have the exact number with me, but I keep track of it every single month, and I know that every single month I have hit my check mark. Well, last month I was like a few short, but I went over in January and February, so I'm not worried about it. So that felt really good to be on track for that, because that was probably the goal I was most worried about failing. I wanted to also prioritize series this year, just because I am really bad about reading like the first book in a series and then never continuing on with it and just not caring enough. So I wanted to make that a priority. I feel like I am neutral on that goal. It's not necessarily doing well, and it's not necessarily doing poorly. I wanted to read more horror and thrillers, and I wanted to explore that genre more in general, and I would say I'm succeeding at that, and that I'm really happy with how that goal is doing. The next question is, what is one goal that I need to focus more on? So I'm going to interpret this as a goal I am failing, and I do have a couple that we can talk about. So one of my goals this year was to enjoy the books I'm reading more, which now I realize is an arbitrary goal, because how do I know whether or not I'm going to be enjoying the books more? I'm failing at that. I am enjoying the books this year less than I have ever enjoyed books in my life. I also said that I wanted to DNF when needed. I'm failing at that. I don't know what happened this year, but I have gone into the mentality of like, I need to try and finish books way more often than I was before. And you will see that I am actually DNFing less than in previous years. I don't know why that is either. Like, I'm fine with DNFing. I don't know why all of a sudden I am like up in arms with myself about it, but I need to like really take that into consideration again. I also wanted to read more indie published and smaller published books, or lesser known books. I just want to say I'll need to focus on this one more, because I know I am reading them, but I feel like I'm not focusing on it and I'm not seeking them out. I'm just kind of working through books that I already have and I know are in that category, and I really need to be going out of my way and finding new ones to put onto my TBR in future months. I also want to be getting through my physical TBR a lot more. It right now is at around 50 books, and by the end of the year I'd like it to be a lot less, so I'd like to focus on that a lot more too. And then the final goal that I think needs some focus / might need some rearranging, and this is the thing that doesn't quite fit into this question, is my 22 books to read in 2022 list. So I have officially read 5 of the books out of the 22, which means that I am a little bit behind if you're doing like fractions for the year. I think that's like 22% of that list I have read, and I really need to be a little bit farther along. I need to be around 25% read from that list. The issue is, out of the books that I have read on that list, I rated one a 2-star, one a 1.5 star, one a 1 star, one a 4 star, and one I DNF. I'm not like super into that list anymore, and it has come up in my mind that I've realized there are books on this list that I no longer think I want to read. So I am going to be revisiting that list myself and possibly removing some of the books. I'm going to leave them on the list just for statistics and everything, and I'm not going to be replacing them, but in my mind and in my yearly goal, I will be removing them from books that I want to read. Overall, I am not interested in some of them, and I know they will definitely not be read before the end of this year. So the final question is new booktubers. So I'm going to interpret this as booktubers who are new to me, not necessarily new to booktube. And they also said I could reference book talkers or bookstagrammers. I do have a book talk account. I really enjoy being on Book Talk. I myself am new to Book Talk, to be completely honest, so I am still trying to find people and connect with people on there. But let's go through some of my people that I've subscribed to this year that I am really excited about. So first off, Pages with Paige. New subscriber to her, really loving her content, and I'm really excited. Thank you for tagging me, Paige. I'm excited to watch more of your content now after this. Starla and Joyce and I have become mutual friends to each other, which has been really exciting. They are a great booktuber, much bigger than I am, so you probably already know them if you know my channel. Upside Down Books is a Australian booktuber. I have been following them for a little bit now, definitely longer than 2022, but I always want to recommend them because I love their videos and I love her curly hair. It's so great. Mythic Pages is another great one. She recently did the Game of Thrones reading-a-thon, and I wasn't able to participate, unfortunately, just because this year has been crazy for me, but I absolutely love her content, and if you don't know her, highly recommend. And then finally, I want to talk about the End Pages. She hasn't been able to post recently because she is getting her PhD at the moment, but she's super fun and loves like high epic fantasy. So if you want someone like that, I highly recommend her channel, and I really hope she returns to booktube soon, but I want her to take her time and do it when she can and not feel rushed, but also like her friends are here if she ever does return, because I'm so excited to see her content and see what's been going on in her life recently. That's it. I'm gonna have to do this outro really quick because my mom just called and said that she's on her way here to look at my knives. Watch my reading vlog that'll be coming out on Monday to understand that. Anyways, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know if you have any quarter year statistics, and until next time, I don't remember how my outro goes, but I will talk to you in the comments. Bye.